affiliates, or stations. VCMG Live is not responsible for any content, information, or opinions expressed. User bears full responsibility for their reliance on such content, information, or opinions.
Are you a family caregiver? Are you caregiving for someone who can no longer take care of themselves? Are you overwhelmed? This is Caregiver Solutions Info with Marcia Teele. Marcia will be hosting an hour of true stories and information, tips and updates of the latest research and necessary information in the caregiving field, focusing on you, the family caregiver. An Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert, Marcia has 15 years of hands-on experience at Arden Courts, a leader in assisted living dementia communities here in the U.S. Marcia covers everything you need to know as a family caregiver, especially if you care for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease or other related dementia or chronic illness. If you have a friend or relative that is also a family caregiver, call them now. They won't want to miss a minute. And let them know they can watch on caregiversolutions.info. And they can listen on WNN 1470 AM in South Florida or nationally on the iHeartRadio app. Now, sit back, relax, and learn from our host, Marcia Teele, as she brings information to you that may just be the caregiving solution you need.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Caregiver Solution Info Show. I'm your host, Marcia Teele, and we have been presenting this program to caregivers all over the world for the last 7 years. I'm glad you're with us today. We have another wonderful program for you. This show was meant for people that want to know more about caregiving, more about dementia, and how to deal with the challenges of both. And so today we're going to have a special guest. She has actually been a caregiver for quite some time. And I really think that caregivers learn from other caregivers when they are relating because they've walked in your shoes. We have a lot of different guests that come onto the program that share their expertise from legal matters to social matters to financial matters. But what better way to learn from listening to a caregiver, especially if you're caring for a spouse. It's very different when you're caring for a spouse versus caring, let's say, for a grandparent or caring for a neighbor. And so there are special challenges that go along with that. And we're going to be exploring those challenges today. So I hope that you take notes because I think you're going to learn a lot today. I think you're going to relate to my guest. She's a wonderful, warm person, and I'm very excited to have her with me today. Her name is Madeline Hinken, and she is a caregiver for her spouse. Hi, Madeline. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So, Madeline, how long have you been a caregiver?
I've been a caregiver about 4 years now.
Okay. All right. Now, you've been a caregiver for 4 years for your spouse. When things started happening, did you right away figure it all out, or what were the first signs that you thought maybe something wasn't right?
I noticed it when we were driving and he would pass the street where we needed to go to, and he would say that he wasn't paying attention, he was listening to the music, he was singing inside his head, and when he would go out by himself, he would get lost, and he would have to call me. And he also, another sign was that he kept asking the same questions over and over and over again, and they were the two main signs.
All right. So finally, I guess at some point you decided you better go get it checked out.
Well, we went to his family doctor a number of times, and I kept telling his family doctor that there's something wrong. And the family doctor thought that we needed marital counseling.
What? Wait, back up. Why would a family doctor suggest that when you're there for a medical reason?
Because my husband would say things that weren't true, and I would correct him, and we would be like arguing in the doctor's office, and I had no idea what was going on, and the doctor thought that we needed marital counseling, and he wasn't listening to me.
So when the doctor said that, what was your reaction?
I was a little angry because I knew that this wasn't my husband. I knew that. So finally, after a couple visits, he had recommended a neurologist that we did go to, but I didn't like her. And my family doctor recommended somebody, and we see that neurologist now, and we like him.
Okay. At some point in time in the future, did the primary care physician get on board with what was going on?
I don't think so.
No.
And the day before I see this primary care physician, I send him a fax and I let him know what's going on. And I always put a paragraph in there that he needs to listen to the partners of his patients.
So it sounds like you're educating the doctor about being a caregiver.
I hope so.
I hope so. I hope so too. Because you're speaking up, you're telling them, look, this is what's going on. This is what I need. This is what I need from you as the professional.
Yes. And I was not getting that from him. He still sees this doctor, and the doctor is a lot more open to listening to me now.
Well, that's wonderful. So you've made headway.
Yes.
Well, good for you.
Yes.
Good for being an advocate, not only for your spouse, but for yourself,
Exactly.
too. So eventually, when you went to the neurologist, what happened there? Did your spouse have to go through a lot of tests?
Yes, he went through a lot of tests. He went through a brain scan and some other medical tests, and then he had to go to another, not a neurologist, but a psycho kind of person for testing.
Like a psychologist
like a
or
psychologist.
neuropsychologist?
And that psychologist was the one that diagnosed that he had mild cognitive impairment, MCI.
Okay. So when your spouse was diagnosed with MCI, mild cognitive impairment, like you said, did they explain that to you? Did they tell you where that was in the big picture? Did they tell you what to expect? Did they tell you what was going to happen next? Did they explain anything to you?
No, they did not. They did not. So I read about it. Dr. Internet helped me, and then I was able to ask questions. And my husband was fine. It was just little things that just didn't make sense with his behavior, or things that he would keep asking me all the time.
So now it's been 4 years since that diagnosis, and you're full-time caregiving, living
Yes.
together day by day.
Yes.
Going through on the journey, as
Yes.
they say. All right. And,
Yes.
and that's why I'm glad that you're here, because a lot of caregivers have a journey, and some of their journeys are short, some are very long. They're all different in their own way, but at the same time, they're also very similar.
Yes.
And I think the similarities come not so much with the particular actions or what was said or what you did, as much as the feelings that go along with that.
Right.
Right? And how
Yes.
you're feeling and what it's doing to you. And I think that caregiving is so difficult, and it's because it's so different. There is a difference between caring for a spouse and caring for someone else that you might happen to have in your life. And you have an opinion about that, don't you? Because you always told me that I don't want to hear advice from...
Right.
Okay, would you explain that?
In the beginning, people are giving you advice and they're telling you what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Have you tried, and why don't you? And then they have a neighbor that has a cousin that has a brother that has dementia or some kind of brain issue. And I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear about somebody's grandmother. I want to hear about a wife that has an issue with her husband. That's what I want to hear about. And, you know, going to a support group and having somebody to talk to that's a professional has really helped me, because my friends don't want to hear me complaining. They don't want to do that. So,
Well, no, wait. Your friends haven't actually said to you, I don't want to hear it anymore.
no, but you can see it on their face. And then I say, well, you know what? I'm not going to talk about it. My husband is very mild, and he's very wonderful, and he's very kind, and he's very considerate. And that's a little bit of a change, because he was a really strong, opinionated man. And now he's a lot kinder and nicer.
Well, I suppose we have to be thankful for little things,
Right.
right?
Right.
Be grateful for little things. So once you saw the signs initially and you went to the doctor and they sent you to the neurologist to get diagnosed, were there other signs then that kept happening, other things that started coming up that you wondered what's next? Did you ever feel like, what's next?
Well, I know that things never get better. I know that. But he started not to be interested in doing things. And he still is, he loves television. He loves sitting on the sofa. He loves napping, and he loves eating. And that is not what he used to do. He used to garden. He used to fix things. He used to be able to drive, and he had a ton of energy. And now he doesn't have that kind of energy, and he really doesn't want to do much. He just really wants to relax.
So that's a major change in your lifestyle
Yes.
since the diagnosis.
Yes.
Because it sounds like both of you were active and both of you had together time, you had together activities, and then of course you had your activities, he had his, but now that's
Right.
really changed.
Yes,
And
it
that's
has.
and that's what we're talking about today. There are a lot of changes.
Yes.
When we're talking about being a caregiver.
Right.
A lot of changes in us, and at the same time a lot of changes in the person we're caring for.
Yes.
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 So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more to Madeline, caregiver for her spouse, and you want to stay with us because she's awesome, and I think you'll learn a lot. So we'll be right back.
Feelings of depression, isolation, and frustration are common among persons living with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's common among those who care for them, too. It takes a lot of patience and courage. It also takes knowing when you can no longer do it alone. At Arden Courts, memory care is all we do. Talk to us. We know. We understand. We can help. Don't let guilt keep you from making the right decision. Visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines.
You are listening to your host, Marcia Teele, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Welcome back to Caregiver Solutions show at caregiversolutions.info. My guest today is Madeline Hinkman. She is a caregiver currently for her spouse. She's been a caregiver for the last 4 years. Her spouse has been diagnosed initially with MCI.
Yes.
So, Madeline, has the diagnosis changed, or is he still in that stage of MCI?
The diagnosis changed about 1.5 years ago to Alzheimer's disease.
It did change.
Yes, it did.
And when it changed, did you see a significant change in him, or what made it so that the doctor actually changed the diagnosis? Was there anything specific that happened? Were there any more tests? Was there some behaviors that you shared that made the doctor change that diagnosis?
There were some things that were not real. It wasn't reality, and he would be saying things that weren't true. They could have been true, but not for him. And I never correct him anymore, and I haven't in about 2 years. I just let him say what he wants to say, as much as he wants to say.
Now, but that's new, because in the beginning, when he would say something that you knew wasn't true, maybe other people didn't know it wasn't true
That
if you
is
were in a
correct.
group, right?
Yes.
And he would say something. What happened then?
I would just sit there, probably rolling my eyes, and they would just kind of look at me. And our friends have been wonderful. They listen to me, they listen to him. We still go out socially, not as much because of COVID, and they understand. And he's such a good person. He's not mean, he's not nasty, he's kind, he's considerate, He's a really nice guy.
So you learned, well, you learn a lot of things as you're going on your journey. I mean,
Yes.
I would say you learn something new every day, right? But you learn that this is sometimes a characteristic of someone that has Alzheimer's disease,
Right.
is they kind of fabricate things.
False memories.
False memories. There are stories about false memories.
Yes.
And I think there was one that pertained to you, but you knew it wasn't true. So when that came up, did you go along with it, or did you at first try to kind of getting back to reality and explain?
No, I don't explain. There's no reasoning left. It's just very futile to try to argue or talk to somebody that doesn't understand that that can't be true. So I just let it go. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
And you've learned that.
I did learn that.
Because a lot of caregivers, and probably you in the very beginning too, they like, well, that's not right. He's not saying the right thing.
Yes.
That's not how it happened.
That's what I was doing in the beginning. But it took me, I think, about a year before I said, it's not worth it.
So when you would do that, how did you feel, and what effect do you think that had on your spouse?
I felt horrible, and he would try to argue with me why he's saying what he's saying that isn't true. So after about a year, and all the reading that I've done, all the research that I've done, all the people that I've spoken to, it's just not worth it. It doesn't mean anything.
Okay, so you've come to that realization,
Yes.
which is a very good thing.
Yes,
And has that made your life day to day better?
absolutely. Absolutely. Because I'm not arguing with him. And when I would try to have him see my way, it wasn't working. So it doesn't matter. I just go along with the program.
So was it frustrating in the beginning?
It was very frustrating in the beginning, yes. And I couldn't understand why my husband couldn't understand what I was saying. And you know what? He is such a smart man that there would be an excuse. And, after a year, I said, I'm not fighting this battle.
Well, good for you. It has been shown that the more intelligent someone is when they get this diagnosis, they're better able to cover up for it.
And he can do that 100%. He's really good at that because he is so smart.
Yes. And in case people don't know what covering up is when a person who has the diagnosis of the memory loss, they don't know particularly exactly how to answer something.
Yes.
They don't know the right answer, but they don't want to be wrong, and they don't want to put themselves in an embarrassing situation or say something that, would be not correct.
Right.
And so they make it up, right?
And if you ask him, who won that game show, he'll say things like, oh, I wasn't paying attention, or, I fell asleep for 5 minutes. So that is, I just let it go. And he has something like deja vu. We will watch game shows at night because we both like them. And he will constantly say, I already saw this. And I think to myself, well, he only watches news shows all day, so there's no way. And he'll say, I remember that red sweater. And I say, oh, well, do you mind if we watch it again?
Okay.
And that works.
And that works.
That works.
So you've learned how to go along with it. You've learned the best way to reply.
Yes.
To keep life calm and happy.
Yes. It works.
And, it takes a long time to learn those types of things.
Yes, it does. And if he does something that isn't right, I don't care.
Okay. So is he aware of his condition?
Sometimes he is, but most of the time he will tell me that he has memory loss due to his age because he has spoken to so many men his age and they all have it.
Yeah, well, a lot of people do.
I know.
Do you mind sharing his age with us?
He's 79.
79.
But he looks great for 79. He's got a really good face.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, 79 in the 70s, in the 60s, even in the 50s, people can actually start having memory loss
Right.
and get diagnosed with early onset dementia or early onset
Right.
Alzheimer's or other types of dementia.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily have to be that diagnosis, because there's so many different types of dementia.
Well, that's true. And it runs in his family.
Does it?
But I didn't know that 26 years ago because nobody in my family ever had dementia or Alzheimer's. But now that I know what to look for, being senile, you kind of laugh it off. And he has a relative that was eccentric. Well, she's not here anymore, but she wasn't eccentric. She had Alzheimer's. But at the time, 26 years ago, I didn't know anything about it.
Of course, no.
So it does run in his family.
And how long have you been married?
We've been together 26 years and we've been married 22 years.
So when you fell in love and got married, obviously this is not something you ever thought you'd have to do, is be a caregiver.
No, because I fell in love with this guy because he could do anything. He could drive me to the moon and back. He could fix anything. He could build anything. And my dad was like that, and he was so handy. And I fell in love with that, and he took care of me. So,
And now the roles are a little bit reversed.
yes,
And how
Yes.
does that make you feel?
it makes me feel sad that this is not what I had thought would happen. I thought we would be traveling and we would be doing activities outside the house, and that doesn't happen.
In your opinion, what would happen if you tried to continue to travel or to go places or do things outside of home? How do you see that playing out at this point in time?
I see it not playing out at all. If I go out to lunch with my girlfriends, he says it's okay, but he gets upset and he doesn't like it when I'm gone too long. I have a feeling that sometimes he thinks I'm not coming home because he has an abandonment issue. So I'm sometimes like a prisoner in my own home. And to take my husband out all the time is sometimes very difficult because he doesn't want to do things. Traveling is totally out. We can't do that. And it has changed drastically because I'm used to going out with my girlfriends, and I can't do that.
And you're limited now.
Yes, very.
Yeah. So a diagnosis like this changes your whole life.
It does. It does. And sometimes I feel very sad for myself. And my husband's very happy. He's very happy sitting on the sofa, watching TV, napping, and eating. And he loves eating. He loves eating sweets. In the beginning, I said, no, you can't do this. And now I took food totally off my plate. He can have whatever he wants as much as he wants. So I don't care about that anymore. Doesn't mean anything anyway.
So it makes him happy.
It makes him very happy.
And if he's happy, you're happy.
And if he's happy, I'm happy. Right.
So because of his diagnosis, you've had to take on the role of everything that he used to do.
He can still do some things.
Okay.
He can still empty the dishwasher. He can sometimes load it. He can carry the laundry to the washer and dryer, and he can carry the clean laundry back to the bedroom. But he doesn't want to fix anything anymore. And he doesn't want to garden. He was an unbelievable gardener. Unbelievable. He would grow tomatoes. We would have like 50 plants, and I would make sauce. And he hasn't done that in about 5 years, and he has no desire
And
to.
obviously you're handling the finances, paying the bills.
Right.
That-
I always did that.
You always
I
did
always
that.
did that.
A lot of wives have to take that on when maybe that wasn't their role.
Right.
And that's an extra burden. It's
Right.
very hard.
I did a lot of these things, But I could say to him, we need milk, and he could go out and get milk. Well, now I have to do it, and sometimes he comes with me, but he doesn't like it because I go up and down the aisles. If I need milk, he thinks I should just go in and get milk. But I food shop so infrequently now that I want to go up and down the aisles because
you
I
never
don't
know
have-
what you're going to
That's right. I
want
never
or
know when I'm
need.
going to be able to go out again.
Exactly.
And he gets upset with that.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be giving away a free book for caregivers. So if you are interested in learning more about the diseases of dementia, different types, and about how to be a better caregiver and learn some tips of the trade with professionals, and you would like a book to do that, then be ready when we come back with pen and paper, and I'll tell you how you can do that. We'll be right back.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live, it's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides. You are listening to your host, Marcia Teele, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Welcome back. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our national sponsor, Arden Courts Memory Care Community. Arden Courts is a memory care assisted living for people that are suffering from memory care from different reasons. And Arden Courts is also there for the family caregiver who's still taking care of their loved one, whether they're at home or whether they are in a community for memory. Because once a caregiver, always a caregiver. And so this is a wonderful opportunity for you to get a free book. This is called The 36-Hour Day, written by Dr. Peter Rabins and Nancy Mace. It's continually being updated. It's a wonderful resource for caregivers or even for family members who want to learn more about what their family is going through with the diagnosis of a memory loss condition. This book is absolutely free just for the asking because you are watching or listening to this program. If you'd like to get your free copy, all you have to do is send an email to delray at arden-courts.com. That's DELRAY at Arden, ARDEN -courts, COURTS.com. Give them your name, address, and telephone number and tell them that you saw this offer on the Caregiver Solutions show and you'd like to get your free book, The 36-Hour Day. I highly recommend this book. It's wonderful, lots of great information. There's a lot of books out there that caregivers can read. This is one that you don't have to read front to back. You can pick a chapter or pick a section, whatever might apply to you at the time. So go ahead and send an email to delray at arden-courts.com and get your free book. My guest today is Madeline Hinkman. She is a caregiver for her spouse. She's with me here in the studio. And Madeline, thank you. You've been so open and sharing with us about your situation. And I know it's not an easy thing to do, to share your personal story with everyone, but it is so important because caregivers, they suffer in silence a lot of
Yes.
times. And a lot of times they don't have an opportunity to talk to other caregivers or to hear other caregivers tell their story. And they think maybe this is not, I'm not doing it right. Maybe that I'm different. Maybe I'm all alone. I feel all alone.
Right.
Right. So let me ask you this question. That being said, do you have a support system? I know you said that earlier that your friends kind of don't want to hear you complain anymore, and you try not to burden them with everything because you want to have fun when you're with them.
Right.
You want to enjoy their company.
Right.
So how do you vent? How do you get over and talk about feelings? Because if we keep our feelings, our strong feelings, you've already talked about being sad, about being frustrated, about being, angry about some things. How do you take care of yourself emotionally?
Well, I see a therapist every other week, and that's really great. I belong to a support group with you, which is great. I have a wonderful sister who lives near us who is very supportive. I do have good friends. My son calls often. So that's really my support system. Al has 3 kids. The oldest one calls every week, and he puts the kids on, so we get to talk to them. And his wife talks to me also, and she asks me how I'm doing. And the other 2 kids, they call. And the oldest one that calls every week has dinner with us on Thanksgiving. He travels from North Carolina to have dinner with us on Thanksgiving, and we love to see them.
Great. Trying to keep some form of routine,
Right.
ordinary. So when you said that the daughter-in-law asked you how you're doing, do you really tell her how you're doing, or do you say, I'm fine?
Sometimes I say I'm fine. Sometimes I kind of tell her what's going on, but I don't think she really wants to hear that. I think that my husband's children should be more active, except for this one daughter-in-law. Nobody calls to see how I'm doing or to thank me for taking care of their dad. And that hurts my feelings.
Of
And it
course.
makes me feel sad for my husband that they are not involved in his treatment.
So they may not even understand what's happening. They may not understand what you're going through, what he's going through. Maybe because, why? Are they busy? They don't take the time? Or do you think it's like a lot of people putting their heads in the sand?
I think they know because all those families have somebody in that family, not the children, but the in-laws have somebody, a grandmother or a cousin that has these issues. So maybe they just don't want to get involved and they don't want to feel bad, so they don't call to ask me what's going on. And I'm not used to that. I'm used to family caring, not just letting it go.
Yeah. So sometimes do you feel alone even though you have some friends, even though you have some support, but do you ever really feel alone?
I do. Most of the time I feel alone because everybody, my friends and my relatives don't really understand 100%, unless somebody has a husband, not a grandmother, not a next door neighbor, not a cousin.
Well, you said the perfect word as a segue to my next question. You said the word understand. My next question to you was, what do you think people in general don't understand about being a caregiver?
How hard it is. And I've got to look at my husband, who used to be able to do so many things and now does not. It makes me feel sad and also bad for myself that I don't have that freedom anymore. And I miss that. And I miss going out with him and having a great time and laughing and sightseeing and a little bit of traveling that we used to do. I really miss that. We go out to eat, and in a restaurant, he always finds something wrong because the music isn't what he likes. He needs to sit by a window because it's too dark. They don't have name tags, stuff like that. So I've got to remind him, please don't ask to talk to the manager, because it makes me feel bad all the time when he does that.
You feel bad, you feel sad, you feel frustrated. What makes you feel very, very angry?
That I'm in this position at this point in my life, because I still feel that I can do things, but I don't have the opportunity to do those things. We don't have somebody to come in the house and keep him company because he doesn't think anything is wrong with him. And I can't take him for a few hours a week to an adult daycare because he thinks that there's nothing wrong with him. So if I have to go somewhere, I worry about leaving him alone. Not that he's going to do anything, it's just that he's lonely and he doesn't like to be alone.
And it's probably not a good idea to do that anyway, because you really don't know how their brain is going to process something or think about something. And a lot of times people that are what we consider higher functioning people with dementia, they think they can do everything or
Right.
anything.
Right.
And sometimes they will go ahead and try to do it because they think for that reason, oh, I
Right.
can still do this. And then a lot of times then it's not a good idea because they're doing something that, is really going to be detrimental to them or to somebody else.
Right.
So you're smart, really not to take that chance.
Right.
But at the same time, like you said, it makes you feel like you're a prisoner in your own house.
Yes, at times.
And that. So how do you see your future?
Well, I see that we're probably going to need to move to a life care community. I already have a deposit at a place up in Pennsylvania, because at that point, if I can't take care of him and he can't take care of me for my medical reasons, I want to be near my son, and I want him to be near 2 of his children.
So you do have a plan.
I do. I've already filled out the application and they have a deposit. But I really like Florida and he likes Florida. But when I can't take care of him, then we go to a life care community and we can rent an apartment there. And when I need help or he needs help, it's available.
Well, I want to applaud you for making a plan for the future. And it sounds like a really good one. Sounds like you've really thought it out and have all the pieces in place, because being a caregiver, you never know when that's going to happen.
Right.
But it's there for when you need it.
Right.
And that was very smart for you to do.
Yes.
And I assume also you have all your legal documents already taken care of.
We did all the trusts.
Trust, power of attorney.
Yes, we did that.
Healthcare surrogate.
Yes.
You did all that early.
Yes.
Okay.
Years ago. A couple years. Right after I got the diagnosis of MCI, we both went to the same attorney and we did trusts.
Now, did someone recommend that you do that, or was it just something that you thought, boy, I better get this in order?
It's from the literature that I read that you really need to get everything in order, and not a will, but a trust.
Well, again, applaud you for being proactive. You're somebody that likes to read, likes to learn things, likes to, get on top of things. And I know you're a ferocious reader with
Yes.
a lot of the books that you learn a lot of things from. You are so gracious and so willing to share this. But again, how do you take care of yourself? Because you've heard this over and over. You hear it in support groups. You hear it in books. You read it in books. A caregiver needs to take care of themselves so that they can be able to take care of the person they're caring for. And I know that, you have some special ways that you take care of yourself. And we're going to talk about those things in just a moment. So I'll keep everybody on edge for just a few minutes. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Madeline's going to share with us how she keeps herself sane. Is that a good word?
That is a
okay.
great word.
All right. We'll be right back.
Somewhere at the corner of bewildered and confused is a lost mother, a father, a sibling, a grandparent. Wandering is a common symptom of Alzheimer's or related dementias and can often make those who care for a loved one feel just as lost. If you're looking for a place that's safe and secure, look to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines.
You are listening to your host, Marcia Teele, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
We're back, and my guest today is Madeline Hinkman. She is a caregiver for her spouse. And Madeline, before the break, you talked about going to a support group and also going to a personal therapist for
Yes.
yourself, and that's really helped you.
Yes.
The support group, some people say, well, I'm not that kind of a person. I don't like support groups, but have you found it to be helpful for you?
Yes, very helpful. Especially when you hear other people talk and you say, oh, I have that same issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like to do that. And I get tips on things that help me. And one of the big tips that I want to tell you is that I write a daily note for my husband every morning of what he has to do, what I have to do, and what we have to do together. And that works out so well, because sometimes I might forget. And here we have that note, and it works out perfectly.
Wonderful. And then because he can read and understand at the moment what he's reading and can keep reading it if he forgets,
Yes.
it reminds him about what's happening. And so
Exactly.
he wouldn't have to continually repeat a question to you. It's
Yes.
right there.
Right.
So, caregivers, if you don't go to support group, you might be missing out. Try more than one. If you go to one, it's just not to your liking. There are plenty out there. Search for caregiving support groups in your area, wherever that may be. Now, I just have to share with you that the support group that Madeline currently attends is in Delray Beach. So if you are local in the Delray, Boynton, Boca area, and you would like to come to a caregiver support group, there's one the third Wednesday of the month. The address is at the Verena, Verena. It's an independent assisted living in Delray Beach. The address is 5624 Linton Boulevard in Delray Beach. You do not need to RSVP to come. You just show up, walk into the lobby, and tell them that you're there for the support group. The time of the support group is 10:30 a.m. until 12 o'clock. So you have a good hour and a half to meet other caregivers, to share, to ask questions, to listen, to get anything that might be on your mind or on your heart out there, right?
Exactly.
And so again, if you're looking for a local support group, come to the Verena at Delray, 5624 Linton Boulevard. If you would like more information about that support group, feel free to call the local Arden Courts in Delray Beach, and the phone number there is 561-498-5552. So, Madeline,
Yes.
we talked about taking care of yourself.
Yes.
And one of the ways, obviously, you go to support group and you take care of yourself for what you need to. When we say take care of ourselves, sometimes we mean physically.
Yes.
Sometimes we mean emotionally.
Yes.
Sometimes we mean spiritually.
Yes.
Right? And it's all important.
Yes.
But you have found a very unique way to keep not only yourself busy, but to keep your life meaningful. So I'd like for you to tell me what it is, when you started it, and how it helps you.
When we moved down here in 2003, I had retired from public school teaching. And I still wanted to teach, but I didn't want to teach kids anymore because I felt that I had paid my dues. So I work with adults. And I've always been a crafter. And I decided that I wanted to teach people how to make greeting cards. And when I would call these assisted living places or independent living places, they would not understand what I was talking about. So I said, how about if I do a free workshop? And they said, okay. So at one point, I was at 10 different places.
Wow.
That was when we first moved here, and of course I was a lot younger, and it was great, and I loved working with people my age and older. So I have continued to do that. I teach classes now at 2 different places, people my age and older, and I also have workshops in my home.
So what do you teach them?
I mainly teach them, and I have some samples here.
Talking to that.
I teach them how to make greeting cards. They're really note cards, and they're blank inside. If I hold it up?
Yeah, sure. Show it up to the camera. Oh, that's so pretty.
I'm really into funny, really insulting things.
You mean like
Like
sarcastic?
snarky, like
Snarky.
snarky.
I love snarky.
And I can say whatever I want to say on these cards. And my husband is so supportive.
He loves that you do this.
He loves that I do
And I
it.
think he helps you sometimes, right?
Sometimes he does help me. A lot of things I have to color, like with markers. And these are rubber stamps or digital stamps that you buy off the internet. And
These
then
are beautiful, but they're colorful and they're different and they're unique. And for people that might be listening on iHeartRadio or local radio here in South Florida, I want to describe here's one. I mean, it's adorable. It's very colorful. It's got glitter. It's got ribbon. It's texture. And there's 2 older ladies that are all decked out to the hilt. And they say, yes, we are aware of how obnoxious we are when we are together, and we don't care, right? So it's a chuckle.
It
and then
is.
someone can write in whatever they want to write in the
Exactly.
middle. So they're like you say, they're a little snarky, but here's another really cute one. A lady, again, I love the drawings, the colors, everything about it. It says on the front, you know that thing inside your head that keeps you from saying stupid stuff you probably shouldn't? Well, yeah, mine is broken. I mean, these are great. These are things that a lot of times you would never find in a traditional
No,
card store.
you would not.
Because you make these totally out of your own creativity and your imaginations. And here's one a lot of guys can identify with. There's a guy, looks like he's ready to go to the beach, and he says, if I can't wear sandals or flip-flops, I'm not going, right? So people can identify with this.
yes, they can.
And that just comes to you?
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Beautiful.
And then I have a line of beautiful cards, and I do shows through the Southern Handcraft Society right before the holidays, and I sell a lot of cards. And people tend to not buy my beautiful cards because they buy my snarky cards.
So the snarky cards are the best sellers.
Oh my gosh,
What does that tell
yes.
you about people?
I know. But I love making beautiful cards.
They are beautiful.
So we make cards in class. We also make journals in class because it's paper, and I love paper. And it's just a composition book. It's covered inside on the back.
Wow.
And covered inside.
Do you know that is an amazing idea? Because if you buy a composition book, you can get one for $1 or $2,
Right.
right? But if you go to buy a journal at a bookstore, something like this is going to cost you at least $10.
Well,
or
speaking
more.
about journal, I put it in a bag. Everything is all bagged up. And it says, this journal looks like, well, I can't read it
Right.
without my glasses.
Oh, no, allow me. This journal, quote unquote journal, looks like a great way to save all the little snippets of thoughts, inspirations, photos, pictures, clippings, doodles, and everything that you collect every day as you go through life. Random thoughts, ideas, items, etc. now have a colorful home inside this journal. And I love that because the journal is colorful. You've created something new out of something ordinary. And a lot of times we tell caregivers, it helps to journal. If you
Yes.
need to vent, if you need an outlet, get a journal, right?
Right.
But it doesn't have to be expensive.
No.
This is a school composition
Yes.
book that's usually black and white,
Right.
the kind that we used to
Right.
use in school.
Exactly.
And you have made it just so unique and different. I love that. What else do you have?
Okay. We also make pens. We decorate pens.
Decorate pens. Ooh, the blingy blingy, beautiful. And you sell these too at
I
your
do.
At
my
At
shows.
the shows. Beautiful. Love all the bling. I
And
love
this
it.
I do in my home with my students, the ladies that are my age and older, because there's so many beads that if I did it in class with 20 people, they would fall all over the floor, and I can't bend down much.
So it's
anymore.
called Paper Hearts Art by Madeline. Your email address, if somebody wants to know more about this or find out what shows you're going to, can they?
Yes,
Can
absolutely.
they email you? It's M Hinkman, MHINK HINCK, sorry, EN @gmail.com. And you also have a website.
Well, I have a blog.
Okay, so
I
tell
have a
us
blog.
about that.
The blog, I don't sell anything on the blog. And it's probably about 10 years old, and I keep adding to it. And I just show things that I make, and I write about it. I've taken pictures of some of the ladies working, and they like that. And it just helps me to take some time out to take a picture of what I've done and write about it.
Beautiful. And you have something else over there to show. Show and tell.
I have a superpower. I
You have
knit.
yes, you do have many superpowers.
This
I
is
agree
my
with that.
superpower. I knit a lot of hats and I donate them to hospitals. Don't take them anymore. I donate them to a church that sends them to the Ukraine. I also send my hats to Shriners Hospital in Philadelphia.
Wow, these are gorgeous. Beautiful. Such
And I
great-
can knit without looking
So when you're sitting in front of the TV, you can
at
actually
night.
be productive?
at night.
Wow.
When we watch game shows, I sit on one sofa, my husband sits on another, and I can knit.
These are beautiful, and you're giving them to great causes.
Yes. I also sell some hats, but 99% of the hats that I make, I donate.
And this is called Hats from the Heart by Madeline. I love that too. So, with all that you have to do as a caregiver, with everything that is going on in your life, how do you, A, find the time, and B, what does it do for you to have all of these things going on?
I have so much nervous energy, and the only way that I can get rid of it is to do something with my hands. Because when I'm working on an art project like this, I'm thinking more about this than I am thinking about,
All your
what am
problems.
I going to do about something.
So it keeps you from worrying.
Yes,
Right? Because
yes.
you know what everybody says, why worry if it's out of your control? And
Right.
many, many times things that happen when we're a caregiver are totally out of our control.
Exactly.
So worrying about it is useless. It just puts more stress on your life.
Yes.
Of worrying.
Yes.
And so this is a great way for you to get out that anxiety, do something with your hands, not think about all your
Right.
problems. So what does it do for you overall?
It does a whole lot for me because my husband is so supportive of this. Just about every surface in our house has an activity. And when I start cleaning it up, sometimes he says, "You're not going to stop doing that, are you?" And he loves everything that I do.
And I love it because he's basically involved.
He is.
He's your sounding board.
Yes.
And he'll tell you what he likes, what he doesn't.
Exactly.
And I heard
He
he even
does.
gives you ideas.
He does give me ideas. He gives me lots of sayings, which are wonderful. And he goes to the shows with me.
I think that's
And he
awesome
helps
because
me.
look how you found a way to do something together. You talked earlier in the show about not being able to do things together with your spouse who has dementia, but now you've created a way to be involved together, do things, have him come with you, him being involved in what you're doing and liking what you do. I think that's awesome. And you are awesome.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you so much for being with us today.
You're
and
welcome.
Sharing
My
your story.
pleasure.
I mean, it's great. And if you all would like to check out Madeline's blog, it's www.mhinkman, that's MHINKMAN.blogspot.com. And you can email her directly at mhinkman@gmail.com. Find out when her next show is, inquire about how you can maybe get in on some of these awesome snarky cards and find out maybe how you can get involved in something similar too. Thank you all for being with us today. Again, I appreciate you so much. Check out the website, check out the blog, check out the support group in Delray Beach, the third Wednesday of every month. And I hope that you all have a good night. Will join us next week, same place, same time, 6 o'clock next Tuesday. We will have another wonderful program for you then. So until then, take care, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Caregiver Solutions with Marcia Teele. Join us next week as Marcia, who has 15 years of Alzheimer's disease and dementia care experience, brings you more needed information to help with the care of your loved one. This show can be seen again on caregiversolutions.info, and questions can be left on the site, which may be used on the program to help others. See you next week for more Caregiver Solutions.
The content